Research tracking students through school found that colorism creates real academic and social disadvantages. Lighter-skinned students receiving more favorable treatment from teachers and peers, darker-skinned students showing measurable drops in motivation and confidence. One large study of over 50,000 middle and high school students even found disciplinary disparities linked to skin tone. This isn't only about how a child feels looking in the mirror. It can shape how they're graded, how they're disciplined, and how much they believe they're capable of.
This is for the ones who are holding both worlds, working the numbers while raising the boys, sending back home while we're planning right here, legacy growing with every new year.
She came out darker than her sister. Someone in your family has said a version of that sentence, maybe with a laugh, maybe as a compliment to the other child. Your child had it too. Last week, we talked about how the world sorts your child by race before they even leave the house. Today is different. Today isn't about the world outside. It's about something that happens inside your own walls, from people who share your child's nationality, your child's language, your child's blood, skin tone, and how it quietly shapes who gets called beautiful, who gets teased, who gets praised, and who learns to stay quiet about it. This one is uncomfortable. I'm going to say it plainly anyway. I am your host, Lynn Benson. Researchers call this colorism differential treatment based on skin tone. Within the same race, the same family, sometimes the same household. And the research on where it actually starts is not what most parents expect. 4 things the research actually shows. Thing 1, this isn't something children pick up from the outside world. Research has found it starts inside the family. A study following 767 African American families over time found something families rarely want to hear. Parents displayed measurable preferential treatment toward their own children based on skin tone, and this pattern showed up regardless of the child's gender, though the specific way it showed up differed between sons and daughters. Here's the detail that matters most. In that research, the child's skin tone wasn't linked to how much discrimination they faced from the outside world. The differential treatment was coming from inside the home, independent of anything happening outside it. That means this isn't primarily the world's fault. It's a pattern that lives inside families and gets passed down inside families long before a child ever steps outside. Thing 2. This has a real psychological cost, and researchers have given it a specific name. Lando and McNeil Smith, writing in the journal Perspectives on Psychological Science, describe what they call skin tone trauma, the accumulated psychological weight of a lifetime of being treated differently by your own family and community because of something you had no control over and did nothing to cause. This isn't a single hurtful comment. It's the slow effect of hearing those comments repeatedly, for years, from people whose opinion matters most to a child. Thing 3 explains exactly where this pattern actually comes from, and it's not who most people assume. 60 seconds. Thing 3 research has found that mothers, specifically, are often the primary people passing colorism down inside a family, not because of malice, because they are usually repeating exactly what was said to them by their own mothers when they were children. Nobody in that chain necessarily set out to hurt anyone. The pattern just keeps replicating, generation to generation, unless someone consciously interrupts it. You cannot fix a pattern you don't recognize as a pattern. Naming it is the first step to actually stopping it in your own household. Thing 4. This preference for lighter skin isn't just a family quirk. It's shaped by something much bigger, and understanding that context matters. The World Health Organization estimates that 77% of women in Nigeria use skin lightening products, the highest national rate anywhere in the world. Comparable figures exist across the continent: 59% in Togo, 35% in South Africa, 27% in Senegal. A global analysis found a lifetime prevalence of skin lightening product use of roughly 27% among Africans overall. I want to be honest about something here too. Most of the strongest research specifically on family colorism dynamics comes from African American families, not African immigrant families directly. The mechanism is very likely similar, but the direct evidence for our specific communities is thinner than I'd like it to be. What isn't thin is the scale of the preference itself. When an entire society has normalized lighter skin as more desirable, it would be more surprising if that preference never leaked into how a family treats its own children. It's not an excuse. It's the actual water your family is swimming in, and it explains why this happens even in loving homes. Before I close, I want to give you more than just awareness, because naming a pattern is the first step, but it isn't the whole job. The consequences of colorism reach further than feelings, and that's worth knowing plainly. Research tracking students through school found that colorism creates real academic and social disadvantages. Lighter-skinned students receiving more favorable treatment from teachers and peers, darker-skinned students showing measurable drops in motivation and confidence. One large study of over 50,000 middle and high school students even found disciplinary disparities linked to skin tone. This isn't only about how a child feels looking in the mirror. It can shape how they're graded, how they're disciplined, and how much they believe they're capable of. So here's what actually helps. According to people who work directly with families on this, watch the backhanded comments, not just the obvious ones. Stay out of the sun. She has good hair. Every one of these carries a hidden message that looking closer to European features is somehow safer or better. Most families who say these things never intend harm. But children absorb the message underneath the words, not just the words themselves. When your child asks about skin tone and they will answer honestly, not defensively, let them ask and actually listen to what's behind the question, rather than rushing to reassure or shut it down. For younger children specifically, there's a simple, concrete way to reframe this that researchers who work on colorism healing recommend directly. Explain that skin tone comes from melanin, and melanin has a real protective biological purpose. It isn't random, and it isn't a ranking. It's protection built in. Listen to how skin tone gets talked about in your home. The compliments, the warnings, the jokes about who's the dark one or who came out lucky. Children absorb every single one of those, whether or not they say anything back. This is Futuretainment. I am Lynn Benson. We are rooted in two worlds. We are building one legacy. The one action this week: really listen for one full day to how skin tone comes up in conversation around your children. Notice it. Just notice it. You cannot interrupt a pattern you haven't actually had yet. I will see you on Friday.
Leave something worth inheriting.